Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran and today I am discussing with you the time management in the AAA paper. You all know that time management is the biggest issue in the AAA paper, and that's what I will be investigating today. So let's start on with the discussion. You can post your questions and I will be taking them during the sessions as well if you have any concerns relating to time management for the AAA paper. Now, you're all aware time and lots of time the students struggle to complete the paper on time, which is one of the biggest reason of the low passing rates in the AAA paper. Because when I sit down and I talk to lots of AAA students, I do realize that most of the failures are due to incomplete paper. How can you increase the prospects of the coverage of the paper? How can you ensure you are completing something like 90% of the paper, if not 100%? What is a better time management technique which you can utilize? Because even just like 15 days before the June exams, when I'm doing this session, there are so many questions I get every day from students asking that what can I do to improve my time management, or I am still unable to complete the paper on time. So in such of ensuring you get over 90% of the paper in AAA. So I'll be speaking of the time management first before taking on your questions. First, the section A, time management. You're all familiar. This is the most important section, the question number one of the AAA paper. And there is a certain time management for the section A, which is to be followed. If you stick to the time management of section A and whatever best you can do within that time management, that would really benefit you to complete up to 90% of the AAA paper. I'm still saying 90% because it's very, very difficult that you stretch to 100, but aim for something between 90 to 100. You will still lose something like 5 to 6 marks. That's quite common in the AAA paper. Don't be worried about it. But try to ensure you are doing a good paper all across the 90% marks you have covered up. Don't do the paper that one of the question is very good, the second and third questions are very bad. On that sort of a scale you will never pass. So ensure your question 1, your 2 and 3 are all done on one scale of being good. If one question is up, the second is down, that sort of a fluctuation or that sort of a variance between one and second question might not be helping you pass the paper. Now, the time management for the question number one, which is important, is right in front of your screen now. The time for question number one is 97.5 minutes. Round it off, 98 minutes, out of which one fourth of the time is to be spent on reading and planning, which is 24 minutes, and then the remaining 74 minutes is to write and answer. Ensure wherever you reach in 98 minutes, stop. You need to do the best in 98 minutes, but you cannot stretch, you cannot overstretch 98 minutes. You need to stick to 98 minutes because every question is important. Every question has opportunities. You cannot say, okay, instead of 98 minutes, I'll take 120 minutes in the section A. What are you doing? You're compromising the quality of answer that you will be receiving from the students. Because if you are asking them 3 questions, one question is good, the second is fair, the third is bad, you're not passing the paper. All 3 questions needs to be on a good threshold, a minimum benchmark which you need to set across the 3 questions to pass the paper. So in 98 minutes, wherever you reach, stop and move on. You might have left something incomplete in 98 minutes. Don't be bothered about it. Just put a full stop and move to the next question. So that is very, very important. Now, please ensure that this time management is followed. I know I've talked to so many students. I got questions even before the session today. Students says we take 110 minutes, 115 minutes on average to complete the question number one. That is not wise strategy, because the wise strategy is that whatever time you have for the question number one, just stick to it, and whatever best you can do in that time, do it. Then the same goes with the question number section number B of the paper as well, where you have another two questions, and the time management for section B, where you have the question 2 and question 3 of the paper. This is what looks like the time management for section A, each, where you have 12 minutes of the reading and planning time for each question and 36 minutes of writing. You still have an opportunity. You can still you can still implement this time management. You can still implement this time management in your mock exam. You need to do exam drills as much as possible in these last 15 days. You need to ensure you fit these time zones I'm telling you in this session, that each of the question in section B is to be done in 48 minutes, where 12 minutes is to read and plan, and then you have 36 minutes to write the answer. If you follow this, this will ensure a better coverage of the paper. If you just run after excelling one section, or you just run after excelling question number one, and you compromise question two and three, or you compromise the quality of answer you write in question two and three, you will not be able to clear the AAA paper. So please ensure you do a good paper, and stop where the time ends and move on, because there are opportunities awaiting you in the other questions. Grab those opportunities. There might be something good in the other questions which you know, and you can perform well and you can score well instead of completing just the one question. Okay, now just before I move on to a more broader discussion on the time management between section A and section B, and the importance of wise decision making in the actual exam, because that wise decision making itself is very important, just let me take on some questions which I've already received during the session. Okay, there is a question from, let's put that on the screen. There is a question from Mina Minkai Minkailu, if I'm pronouncing your name right, or Kamara. Hello, Kashif. Which question did you prefer to start with first? Question number one. Question number one should be the first question you're starting, because you have a lot of energy. You have a lot of positive energy when you enter the exam hall. You are very pumped up. You're very fresh. You're very energetic when you enter the exam hall. So I think that sort of energy should go down to the question number one, and that you should take on the challenge of the question number one with that energy. Because if you do section B first, your energy level will go down, your stamina will go down, and with that sort of a low stamina, attempting the question number one would be a challenge. So that's where you can improve upon. There is another question from Mughal. What are commercial acumen marks in audit risk question? Mughal, I will be doing another session shortly on professional marks. So you can join that session for questions around professional skills, because I have planned a session on professional skills ahead of the June exams as well. So I think you can put that question into it. So moving just back to where we were, we reach a conclusion that you need to do justice with each question, balance the paper, just not just excelling one question. And this is the message which is to be disseminated today. This is the message which needs to go from me to you today, and you need to follow this message in very seriously. You are doing justice with each question. Balance the paper, not like one question is very good and the other questions are very bad. That is not the balance of the paper, right? The balance of the paper is everything is going on one level. That's balance the paper, not just excelling one question. So try to ensure you stick within the times and try to do the best you can within the times which I have just shown you for the section A and the section B. Now, this is very important. Staying calm, Grabbing opportunities will help you pass the paper. Now, I believe when you enter the exam hall, you're very nervous and you start the paper, and you might see something in the paper, like part, like a part one or part two or part three of a question, which you don't know or which you've never seen in the past paper. And at that point in time, you lose confidence. At that point in time, you get stressed out and you are spoiling your whole exam sitting. If you don't know a certain part for like 6 marks or 8 marks, just ignore it. You still have 90% of the paper with you. You can still achieve the 50% marks from the 90% paper. Believe in yourself rather than getting stressed out, getting nervous, and spoiling the 90% paper you know. So staying calm in exam is very, very important. And your emotional stability in the exam is very, very important, because if you are emotionally stable in exam, you will take wise decisions. If you are not emotionally stable in exam, you will not take wise decisions. So I hope you realize the importance of being emotionally stable, because it's a do or die situation for you. uh, if I don't know 10 marks, I'll just remove them and I'll just focus on 90% I know. And I try to do the best in 90% within the time I have. So, grabbing opportunities, ignoring what you don't know, try to do the best within the time you have. Wise decision makings. Wise decision makings can only come when you are calm. Wise decision making can only come when you are composed and when you are demonstrating emotional stability. Because taking the right decision when it counts the most is very, very important. A lot of time within the 195 minutes you have, not taking the right decisions in that point in time when you're sitting in a real exam is very, very important. And any student who maintains the emotional stability, who keeps himself or herself calm, who takes the right decisions when it counts the most, you will be successful. And that is the model which even the place winners of AAA have used in. So that is very, very important. I believe I've seen students, I've talked to students who are not very emotionally stable in the exam, and in the first 30 minutes they lose confidence somehow just by looking at something which they don't understand. So you have invested resources, you have invested your time, you have invested your money in sitting into the real exam. Why losing it for just 10 marks or 8 marks or 6 marks which you don't know? So that's very important. Now, incomplete paper, which is a challenge in AAA, versus the prospects of success. I still believe, based upon my analysis and my experience with the AAA paper, it's been 15 years since I am teaching this paper, the AAA. I believe that if you achieve 85 to 90% paper within the time, and that 85% and 90% paper has been done on a balanced yardstick, you will pass. But anything less than 85% and which is not done on a balanced basis, the chances of success is very low. You do find amazing stories, but those amazing stories should not be discussed or should not be taken as a yardstick. Yes, there are amazing stories which I have listened from students, that I attempted 72 marks and I got 53. I attempted 75 marks, I got 58. These are stories which do exist. But what story you need to follow, what story you need to find as a good one, is to go and attack 90% paper on the minimum side. Aim for 90, aim for 90, and try to do it as good as possible to find success in your upcoming exams. So can an incomplete paper result into success? Definitely, but it depends upon how good the paper has been done. That's very important. Okay, there is another question uh, from Diana, I used to start all times with question 2 and 3. Maybe that was the reason of failure. Not exactly, Diana. It's about completing paper. See, my theory says that when you enter the exam hall, you're very fresh, you're very energetic. So it's better to utilize that energy on the first question. It's not a bad theory to start with section B first, provided you fit the section B within the time. Question number two, 48 minutes. Question number three, 48 minutes. I've just guided you on that. If you maintain that, and you then move to the question number one with 97 minutes on hand, and you do justice for question number one with the 97 minutes, you can still pass. So this is not a relevant theory that you're failing because you're doing the section B first. But yes, if you take my advice, I would prefer section A should come first and section B should come after. Okay, there is another question again from Diana. Up to now, I have watched 4 webinars. What you suggest from now onwards, sir? How to proceed until exam? I think this is the time where practice holds the key now. Being on the practice platform, doing the latest papers on the practice platform, doing the mock exam on the practice platform, uh, keeping time for reading the examiner reports, at least the 3 latest examiner reports, drilling reasons of failure from examiner report. I think this is that time. This is the time when the focus has to be on practice, reading the case studies, implementing the time management in the case studies, ensuring you're doing time-based drills at home. The drills, the times which I've just guided you in the session today, that needs to be affirmatively implemented. Okay, back to what we were discussing before I get more questions into the session. Okay, now this is been the most common feedback, and I would like to discuss this with you in a shorter span of time. Overrun of time in question number one is the most common feedback, and this do happen. The student tries to write a lot more in question number one than they do in the section B of the paper. You have a time, and you have to fit things in time. Overrunning is not a good strategy, or is not something you should be appreciated of, or you should be admired of, because overrunning the time at the end of the day can cost you the exam sitting you have given, can result in a failure. So overrunning time is not something good. You should ensure that whatever you can write within 98 minutes, write it. At times, I've seen students that drag answer. They write a lot of journal things in the answer. They try to write out of context. They try to write something which is not in the case study. We'll do a separate session on that. How you write a good answer, how you ensure your answer uh, is grabbing not just the technical marks but rather the professional marks too. I'll do a separate session on that because I just want to keep my focus today on time management, not on anything else in the AAA paper. There is a lot to discuss in AAA, and I'll be doing a series of such sessions every day for the next 1 week on different dimensions of AAA. So I'll be talking about what is a good answer and how we can ensure we are writing uh, that much in which we can fit the answer in 98 minutes. Again, the students' beliefs around examiner answers and student impressions around examiner answers, where they take that perspective of writing very long, that needs to be overcome as well. And I'll be doing a separate session on that shortly. Now, this is something important and might be of benefit to you. Suppose you come into a situation in the June exam that you are left with 10 minutes and you have a whole question number 3 to be attempted. Now, with 10 minutes remaining and a whole question number 3 to be attempted, and suppose the question number 3 has part A, part B, part C, it is humanly impossible that if you go with the paragraphing will even help you complete the A part. You might even complete A part only. In that sort of a situation, it's very important that you just jot down points for A, B, C. You just use the pointers, one liners, because you have half a mark to correctly identify something in the AAA paper. So half a mark for correctly identifying something in part A, part B, part C. writing things in sentences, not in paragraph, can at least ensure you cover ABC, and you can fetch a lot of half marks, if not one. And those half and half marks uh, in last 10 minutes can really be a difference between you passing and failing the AAA paper. So in the last 10 minutes, putting things in sentences, jotting the points, writing things in pointer forms, just to ensure you cover A, B, C is a more wise strategy than you just write A in a paragraph form and the time ends. So this is some sort of a technique you can adopt too if you come across such a situation in the exam paper. Okay, there is another question from Simran. Any tips on learning audit procedures and evidence in AAA? Again, Simran, this is just the start. Many sessions coming your way in the next 1 week. Every day, one session on a different objective for AAA. So I'll be keeping a session on procedures and evidence as well. I've just noted your concern, and I will be guiding you how you can excel on procedures and evidence. So just wait for that session, and I'll be taking on your question in that case. Okay, another question from a student, no name, just an ACCS student. How many questions should I practice, keeping in mind I'm also preparing for SPR with AAA? Do I need to solve the whole kit? No, 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 no. You just need to go onto the practice platform. I don't know what's your name, but you just need to go to the practice platform. On the practice platform, they have, I think, recent 6 papers from December 20, then 2021, then 2022, and they have a mock exam. So I think 6 recent papers plus a mock exam is fine, because you need to get the right exam rigor, and the right exam rigor will come with recent papers. No kits here, right? It's just about recent papers and moving on. Okay, there is another question from Noor, aka how to split time between sub questions quickly. There is no split of time between sub questions. You can do simple mathematics, right? You have 98 minutes in the question number one, right? Where 76 minutes is for writing. Now, 76 minutes, right? You have 40 marks to attack in the question one, technical 40 marks. So 76 divided by 40, you get one. How many marks you have for a minute? Now, 76 minutes to write the answer and 40 technical marks you are aiming at. Divide and get an answer. And then suppose you're doing a 20 marks requirement, multiply that by 20 marks requirement. So you know, okay, this is the amount of time I need to give to a 20 marks requirement. So that's what you can do in. I hope if I answered your question, Noor, because we're looking at the broader times for each question, then you can split the time between requirements ABC. I hope I've answered your question well. Okay, there is another question from Punit. Let's see if that is relevant to the session today. Matters for acceptance for engagement in non-audit service. It should be 2 marks or 1 mark. I believe with recent changes, it should be 1 mark. So 1 mark for the matters in accepting an engagement or in accepting a new client. Even though I'll again be doing a session on the marking schemes, I'm just noting down your concerns, and I'll try my best to do these sessions as soon as possible. I'll put in a session on marking schemes. I'll do a session on procedures. I will also do a session. I think there was another concern of the student, which I need to focus on as well. Uh, okay, if you want to suggest any uh, topics for the future sessions over the next 1 week, you're more than welcome to suggest me what sort of topics you want to see in these Facebook live sessions. Okay, there is another question from Stereo. Sir, can reading kit questions and answers be done as part of revision? It's not bad, and I would not say no. But if you have done a fair practice, if you have written the answers yourself, if you have not written answers yourself and you're just reading answers, that's not good. Reading answers can be done because it can give you a lot of it can give you the right a lot of right language you need to write into the answer, or the right way to write the answer, or the right way to explain something. But just alone reading and not solving and not writing yourself is not right. So I hope I answered your question as well, right? Okay, so just moving towards some concluding remarks from the session today. And if you have any further questions, I am into the session for another 5 minutes. If you want to raise any further questions, I hope you got um, the relevance of time management from the session today. That is to do the best within the time frame of each question. Each question contributes to your success. I hope you agree with me. Not just the question one, not just the question two, not just the question three. You need to ensure you do the best within the time frame. And I have no understanding, or I failed to understand why this message is not being disseminated. Though I have been very vocal on this message for last many years in my webinars, in my physical classes, in my online classes, in my Facebook sessions, in my sessions I do on YouTube, that each question should be done within a time frame. But probably the student community is not understanding it, or probably they're still doing 50%, 60% of the paper and coming out of the exam hall and then reinvesting money and resources back again into another other exam setting. You know what are financial conditions globally, you know what are economic conditions globally, and there's a lot of financial distress. And in that sort of a situation, if you're not doing justice to the upcoming exam sitting, you're not taking the right decisions as an accountant, or as a future accountant, you're not portraying yourself to be a good accountant if you're not taking wise decisions, clever decisions, or you're not doing the cost benefit analysis. Okay, there is another question coming in. Let's see if that can be taken in from Diana again. Do the questions in the CBE paper covers the knowledge we should have for accounting standards, or we should spend more time to cover the standards? Even you read the examiner answers, you do get the coverage of the accounting standards. Even if you read like 6 to 7 examiner answers, a lot of accounting standards can be revised, Diana. That is also a very wise strategy to revise accounting standards. But just going over, if you look at the question one answer, because in the question one, in the risk question, audit risk and risk of material misstatement, lots of accounting treatment comes in. So if you can just read the answer for the question number one, you can come across lots of summaries of standards which the examiner tries to write in the answer for the education of the student. So that's one way you can overcome the accounting site. Okay, there is another other similar question from Simran. Do we need a detailed knowledge of accounting standards, or knowing accounting treatments of every standard is enough? Yes, just knowing the accounting treatment of every standard is enough, because every standard has a main treatment. Every standard has a main theme. If you know the main theme, if you know the main summary, that's quite fine. Because again, what examiner writes is a tutorial guidance. Examiner is writing to educate you. He's not telling this is what you need to write to pass. You need to write in the time, and you just need to talk about the accounting treatment in a summarized manner, and then try to find what is the problem. What problem is the management doing with the accounting treatment? What is the issue the management is doing with the accounting treatment? Because you need to investigate the risk. If there is a wrong accounting treatment, you need to find the risk. You need to investigate the risk. Okay, so Kamara is saying, I suggest a session on ISQM 1 and 2. I've already done the session on ISQM 1 and 2 for my regular students and for the students who are taking my registered webinars. So if you have any interest in taking on those sessions, you probably need to register for my webinars. And for that, you can just drop me a message how to go for the registration of the webinars, because that's something uh, that's only for the students who are paid students, basically. So really sorry, but ISQM1 is on the YouTube channel of mine, but the ISQM2 is only for the paid student. So you can find ISQM1 on the YouTube, on my YouTube channel, right? And I hope I can show you the link of my YouTube channel on the screen now, Camera. It's the youtube.com/Kashif Kamran, and you can benefit from it, right? Okay, any further question I missed out? I think I've taken in all the questions from Simran, Diana. I've taken questions from Kamara. Punit, Noor, and Mughal, I think I've taken all of them right. So just a final concluding remarks for this session and going in. Okay, the investment in reading and planning time is key to success, and a lot of times students ignore that. Reading and planning time is 1/4 of the total exam time. We just saw that in the question number one, you have 24 minutes of the reading and planning time. In the question number two and three, you have 12 minutes of reading and planning time, and that is very, very crucial. If you're not utilizing the reading and planning time, you're not writing a quality answer. A lot of times, the student starts to write without even thinking. At times, student starts to write without even understanding the requirement. When you are starting that way, what quality of answer are you producing? So, to produce a quality answer, the investment in the reading and planning time, 24 minutes in the question number one, 12 minutes each in the question two and three, really counts, because that will ensure you know what to do, you know the requirements, you know what the requirement is asking from you, and then trying to connect it as much as possible with the case study and absorbing the case study in your answer to bring success. So I hope you will fit into the time management I have guided you for section A, which is now right in front of your screen. 98 minutes and the split between 24 and 74. Question number two and three now right in front of your screen. 48 minutes each for two and three, where 12 minutes is the reading and planning time, and 36 is for writing the answer. Not just running after one question and excelling one question, is to do justice with each of them. Try to write the best possible answers within the time frame of each question you have in the exam paper. So the time management continues to be the biggest challenge in the AAA paper, but you can overcome that with your wise strategies: emotional stability, staying calm, taking the right decisions. If you don't know something, ignore it. Look at things you know. Grab the opportunities. Be optimistic. If you want to pass, you need to be optimistic, right? You cannot pass the AAA paper if you are pessimistic. So, first of all, you need to develop a personality, a mindset of being optimistic, because that will help you pass the paper. Otherwise, if you just look at things you don't know in the paper and you become nervous, you will never pass the paper. Look at opportunities. You need to avail opportunities, and whoever avails opportunities gets success. So, that's my message to all of you. Thank you so much for coming into this Facebook live session and be and participated in it with your questions. More such sessions coming every day, where we'll be discussing different agendas and different topics, so that you can benefit from them, and you can watch them again over my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. My Facebook page is facebook.com/kkdlp, and you can follow it on the YouTube, which is youtube.com/Kashif Kamran. So I wish you all success, and I hope you implement the time management strategy I have just guided you in the session today, and you will effectively implement that in 15 days you have before exams. So wish you all success. Do your best for time management and do the exam drills in the next 15 days, which is very, very important. Thank you so much, Mukarram, Diana, Noor, and others for reaching this session, raising your questions, and getting replied back to your questions as well. Thank you so much. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.